Colombia, and Brazil.
Okay, now we are live, so if there's someone who wants to watch us from the YouTube, they can. Actually, I think that there are 3 people watching us from YouTube, so nice. Okay, should we make this a short meditation for the opening, just to keep our minds in a nice mood? And so I'd like to invite everyone to just sit in a very comfortable position and close your eyes. And before we begin the proper meditation, would just like to make 1 minute of silence in deep respect of Radha Bonnier, who was the 7th president of the Theosophical Society and who passed exactly 7 years ago. So with a lot of respect, we can just wait 1 minute. Now I would like to invite everyone to breathe very deeply, allowing your body to relax while your mind remains active and clear. Allowing the breathing to relax your body, your emotions, and to calm down your mind while it remains active with discernment. We are here gathered with one objective, and we can try to reach a stage in which the discussions that we will have will not be motivated by personal objectives, but thinking on a higher good. To inspire this moment in which the youth gathers to discuss the future and the present, I would like to read a fragment of a Buddhist sutta to inspire us. It's a fragment of the Upadra Sutta. It says, I have heard that on one occasion, the Blessed One was living among the Shakyans. Now there is a Shakyan town named Sakkara. There, Venerable Ananda went to the Blessed One and, on arrival, having bowed down to the Blessed One, sat to one side. As he was sitting there, Venerable Ananda said to the Blessed One, this is half of the holy life, Lord. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie. Don't say that, Ananda. Don't say that. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie is actually the whole of the holy life. When a monk has admirable people as friends, companions, and comrades, he can be expected to develop and pursue the noble eightfold path. Perceiving this moment of peace of mind and good intention and clarity of wisdom, I invite you all to come back to your regular state of mind and slowly moving your body. And when you feel comfortable, opening your eyes. So I'd like to officially say hello to everyone. We already said hi before, before we began the recording. So this is an open meeting to discuss the idea of reviving the World Theosophical Youth Federation, or the World Federation of Young Theosophists. And there is a group of people who are organizing the online gatherings of young theosophists, and we talked about a few documents that we thought would make sense to read in the beginning, and it could be a commented reading. So if someone wants to comment on them, we are invited, and we also have a moment later to kind of allowing everybody to express what they think about this revival of this organization, because that's the first really open meeting. So I think it would be important to understand what is the collective will and vision of what it should be. Also, it was suggested more recently that we could read the previous minute, because there was a meeting called by Erica before uh, before this one with this idea. So we were talking earlier about if Christopher could read the minutes, because he also wrote them. Your microphone is muted.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just share my screen. This is the minutes of the meeting of the last youth meeting as held by, it was held last October 3 at around 10 p.m. Manila time. So those in attendance were Raphael, Patricia, Ananda, Jocelyn, Charles, Shikar, Catalina, and Erica. Apologies if I got your name, if I misspelled your name. So during that meeting, the following points were discussed. So the idea of reviving the Theosophical Youth Federation, and it was mentioned that it became inactive in 1999, but there is still a copy of the Constitution, probably in the Ajar Library. It was suggested that we try to obtain the documents regarding the Youth Federation, and we all commented and agreed regarding the importance of the initiative. And we also talked about the importance of Tim Boyd as the honorary president, and we should not set age limits. That was what we were discussing before, because this might complicate matters, because some countries may define it at a certain age and another country might define it at another age. And also, it was said that we must delegate the not so young theosophists into advisory and consultancy positions. So I commented that we can introduce the concept of an honorary member. However, I think during that time it was decided not to set age limits and also not to put an honorary member at that time, so that we don't become divisive. And then we agreed to make the youth group open to everyone, and the Youth Federation, and then a question was raised whether the Youth Federation was the same as the Theosophical Youth Movement. And it says that moving forward, the activities of the Theosophical Youth Movement will be linked to the Theosophical Youth Federation. So at the end of the meeting, the following were the action items. So Shikar will check the ADR library for any documents he can find on the Youth Federation. And then Rafael will send the federation's bylaws and constitutions for review. And he will also send the initiative to Tim Boyd. And then we'll set up a meeting on October 24. So it was scheduled for today. And that is the recap of the minutes of the previous meeting. Thank you.
Okay, and I think it would be nice just to, I suppose, to thank Erica, because that's something that began with her, this idea, and also to thank the president, Tim Boyd, because he allowed us to access the archives where we found, Catalina and Shika and some extra historical documents to inspire us. So we thought it would be a good idea if we read some of the previous constitutions. So I think if Catalina or Shika could maybe read uh, the previous one, so we could kind of understand the spirit of the movement and see where we want to go from that. Do you want me to share screen, Catalina, or will you do?
Oh, yeah. Maybe you can share the screen so everyone can accompany the reading. This to share the screen.
Okay. So sorry, is this one?
Yeah, it's this there, that one. World Federation of Young Theosophists.
This is the other page.
Yeah. Actually, there were two. One maybe of 1935 and then later on 1970s. In one, it was called World Federation of Young Theosophists, and the another one was called World Theosophical Youth Federation. And both of them have relatively same titles or the things that they define, like the name of the organization, the objects, about the headquarters, membership, and the organization, which means the officers, the council, and how frequently the meeting will be held, and if there is any official organ of the constitution and amendments. So I'm reading this one first, the one that is shown on the screen, that the name of the organization shall be the World Federation of Young Theosophists. The objects of the federation shall be to promote actively the three objects of the Theosophical Society, to bring theosophy to the youth of the world, and to support and strengthen the Theosophical Society, whose international headquarters are at Adyar, Madras 20, India. The next part, headquarters of the federation shall be at the Theosophical Society, Adyar, Madras, now Chennai 20. Then is the membership. Membership part is actually, if we see, there is a group membership individual membership, and honorary membership. And in this one, in group membership, all national and international groups of young theosophists can be organized as follows. And in this one, if you see here, the age limit is given 35 years for the person. And the condition to be a member of this youth federation is that the person has to be a member of the Theosophical Society, not over 35 years of age. And such members shall comprise not less than 2/3 of the total membership of the group. And those individuals who are not the member of Theosophical Society, but in sympathy with the objects of the federation, and they join the youth federation before 35 years, they will be known as associate members, and they will not have right to vote or to hold office in the federation. And the executive officers, which will come later, of the group shall be the members of the Theosophical Society. And the secretary will be the liaison officer and channel for all communication with headquarters. So basically, the members of Youth Federation who are not members of Theosophical Society, that is the associate members, we shall have no right to vote or hold office. And every group is free to frame its own rules and bylaws, but they have to be in consistency with the rules of federations and of the TS. And every group shall register with the federation, which means if we have different national groups in other different countries, they have to register with this World Youth Federation. As far as individual membership is concerned, again, the members of Theosophical Society who joined before 30 years and less than 35 years, who desire to be attached directly to the headquarters of the federation, are individual membership. But such membership is open only to those who belong to a section of the society. That is, they are a member of the Theosophical Society in any section in any country, but where there is no youth group. So they can directly get attached to the headquarters of Youth Federation. And the other is honorary membership, that the executive committee may invite members of the Theosophical Society to become honorary members of federation in recognition of their special services for or interest in the federation. There shall be no age limit for such membership, but such members shall have no right to vote or to hold office in the federation. The fifth point is the patron, as we all discussed earlier, that the patron of the youth group will be the president of the Theosophical Society, Adiyar. Then comes the administrative part, number 6th, 7th, and 8th, which deals with the administration of the council and executive committee and the officers. So this gives the officers of the federation shall be president, the general secretary, and the treasurer. And there shall be no age limit for the president of the federation. The duties of the officer shall be those usually pertaining to such officers of similar associations. Then comes the Federation Council. And I think all this is inspired by the same administration as we follow in the Theosophical Society. So there shall be a Federation Council consisting of President, General Secretary, Treasurer, and the liaison officer of national and international groups. The council shall be the governing body of the federation and shall transact business by circulation where necessary. Council meetings may be held at the same time as international convention and at the same place. That is during the month of December that we normally have. If there is no member of the council present from a group of the federation, such group may appoint as proxy any representative of its group who may be present personally. So the provision of a proxy is there. And if there is no such representative, the group may appoint as proxy any member of the national society in which the group is functioning, who may be present personally, and even though such person is not a member of the federation. So it means a person of Theosophical Society who is not a person of the Youth Federation can also represent. But if no such person is present, proxies may be held only by the members of Federation. Then comes the Executive Committee, that there shall be an Executive Committee consisting of President, General Secretary, Treasurer, and 4 additional members. 3 members shall constitute a quorum. The Executive Committee may appoint such assistant officers as are considered necessary. The Executive Committee shall be empowered to take such action as is necessary for the promotion of the objects of the Federation, but shall consult the Federation Council on important matters and shall report from time to time. So basically the officers, the Executive Committee and Federation Council. Now the 9th point is annual dues for groups and for individual members. Actually, it says that there shall be no dues, no annual dues, but it should be recognized that the federation is dependent upon a contribution of not less than £2, rupees 26 per annum from each national group to cover its expenses. And for members at large, there shall be an annual due payable of not less than ₹1. Then the annual business meeting number 10th of the Federation shall be held as just discussed during the course of annual International Convention of Theosophical Society, ADR, during which the business transacted will be to receive the annual report of the General Secretary, to receive the annual report and statement of accounts of the Treasurer, to elect a President, General Secretary, Treasurer, and the additional members of the Executive Committee, and to transact any other business. Each national or international group shall be entitled to 1 voting representative, and for each 100 members or major fraction thereof, beyond this first 100, 1 additional voting representative, which means that if some group has 200 members, let's say, so they will get 2 voting representatives. After 100, every 100 will be 1 additional. The General Secretary shall be entitled to 1 vote on behalf of members at large, and 1 further vote for each 100 members or major fraction thereof beyond the first 100. Voting shall be by personal representative or by proxy. If there is no representative of a group of the Federation present personally, such group may appoint as proxy by any member of the National Society in which the group is functioning, who may be present personally. The same thing as we discussed earlier, that even though such person is not a member of the Youth Federation, and if no such person is present, proxies may be held only by members of the Federation. And the last point, the 11th, amendments to the Constitution. The Constitution may be amended on resolution passed by a 3/4 votes taken at the annual business meeting, provided that 4 months' notice of such resolution shall be given to the General Secretary, who shall transmit it to all national and international groups within 2 weeks after receiving it. So this was the World Federation of Young Theosophist Constitution, and I think the other one that we have, with the one that Erica sent, you may be having. No, this is the one that Erica sent it, and there was one more that we sent earlier. Okay, this one, anyone else would like to?
Shika, do you want? So sorry, Shika, do you want another one before this one?
No, actually, that one is also more. The one that I read just now is more or less same as the one we had earlier. So this is more or less same, but I think we can read now this one that we have shared, and if anyone would like to read it.
Oh, just one point before we read this one. I just realized that I forgot to ask people, but we have now 32 people in the Zoom meeting, and we are going to have a minute that will be kept as a register. So please ask everybody to write in the chat the full name and the country, because then Christopher kindly accepted the task of writing the minutes, and then he can write everything that was present in this meeting. So please, if you could write down your full name and country in the chat, we could register your presence in the meeting. Thank you. So sorry, we need someone to read this one, you said?
Yeah, if anyone wants to read this one.
I can read this one.
Okay.
Okay, so Constitution of the World Theosophical Youth Federation passed on 10th October 1978. I guess that was the date when they changed their name, maybe. So the name of the organization shall be the World Theosophical Youth Federation, further abbreviated as WTYF. The object of the WTYF shall be to encourage the realization among young people of the objects of the Theosophical Society, which are: first, to form a nucleus of the universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. Second, to encourage the study of comparative religion, philosophy, and science. And third, to investigate and explain laws of nature and the powers latent in man. Relating to the headquarters, it also points that the headquarters of the WTYF shall normally be at the Theosophical Society at Yar, Chennai, Madras, 60020, India, further abbreviated as TS. Okay, regarding to membership, this will be of two kinds. Group membership shall be open to Theosophical Youth Federations, both international and national, and to Theosophical Youth Groups. The federations and groups shall be organized as follows. First, participation in all groups of the WTYF shall be open to everyone who is in sympathy with the object of the WTYF. Second, the chief executive officer and the secretary of each federation or group shall be members of the TS. The secretary shall normally be the liaison officer and channel for all official communication with the WTYF. Every federation and group shall register with the WTYF and may frame its own rules and bylaws, which should be submitted to the executive committee for approval. They must send an annual report to the WTYF and also to the federation, both international or national, to which they are affiliated. The second kind of membership is the individual membership that shall be open to everyone in a country or continent in which no federation exists and is dependent upon acceptance of the object of the WTYF and carries no voting rights on council. The fifth point, I guess, refers to honorary president, which will be the president of the Theosophical Society. Sixth point, a council. The governing body of the WTYF shall be the council consisting of the chief executive officer of each federation and group affiliated to the WTYF, the chairman, the vice-chairman, the secretary, the treasurer, and the other members of the executive committee. The council shall be presided over by the chairman or, in his absence, by the vice-chairman. The council's meeting shall normally be called by the secretary in consultation with the executive committee. If possible, the Council shall meet annually, preferably during an international convention of the TS or during an international camp of the WTYF. If in any year no council meeting can be held, the council shall transact business by correspondence and take decisions by postal ballot. The third point is related to the executive or chief executive office. If he is unable to attend the council meeting, proxies may be held by any member of other group belonging to the WTYF. No one person shall hold more than 3 votes. 4 point, elections and amendments to the Constitution shall be by the votes of those present and by postal ballot of the other council members whose votes are received before the opening of the council meeting. 5th point, the annual council meeting agenda shall include: first, the annual report of the secretary; second, the annual report and statement of accounts of the treasurer; third, the budget for the current year; fourth, elections when necessary; and fifth, any other business. Regarding to the executive committee, it will consist of the chairman, the vice chairman, the secretary, the treasurer, and 4 additional members. They shall be members of the TS, and the vice chairman and the secretary and the treasurer shall be appointed by the chairman. The meetings of the executive committee shall be called by the chairman of or the vice chairman in consultation. And a quorum shall consist of 3 members of the executive committee, one of whom shall be either the chairman or the vice chairman. Next, the executive committee may co-opt additional members for specific purposes and for a specific period. Next, the executive committee is responsible to the council and shall carry out its decisions. The executive committee shall be empowered to take all such actions as are conducive to the promotion of the object of the WTYF. Regarding the elections, it is said that the council shall elect the chairman and the 4 additional members of the executive committee triennially. Nomination shall be called for by the secretary from the council members at least 4 months and dispatched to the council members at least 2 months before the elections after obtaining written consent of the nominated. An interim election shall be called by the secretary if an officer or member of the committee is unable to complete his term of office. Regarding to the finance, each federation or group and each individual member of the WTYF shall send an annual contribution to the WTYF, the amount of which shall be decided by the group or the individual member, but shall not be below a minimum to be decided by the council at its annual meeting. The financial year shall begin on 1st January and end on 31st December. And finally, related to the amendments of the Constitution, it may be amended at any council meeting provided that for 4 months notice of the proposed amendments has given to the secretary, who shall transmit it to the council members within 2 months after receiving it. A 2-to-1 majority shall be required to give effect to any amendment. I guess that's all, no? Yeah, that's the last point of this.
All right. So, in addition to this previous constitution, I don't know if anybody wants to say something at this point, please do. But in addition to the previous constitutions, we also had 2 ideas. So, I did myself kind of first draft of constitution that people accepted that they could also share this idea, and also the Italian young theosophists also met and talked about this, so they could also share their ideas. But anyway, everything is open to discussion here. So may I share mine then? But I I do I did include in the slides the whole proposal that I wrote, but I thought that would be better to make it in a more dynamic way because, but it's there anyway if you want to read the whole thing. Um, so I will try to be kind of very practical about this. Oh, I think we have to say thanks to Bas because this art of the beautiful, colorful hands and stuff, it was made by Bas from the Netherlands to our international youth gathering in 2017 in Brazil. So yeah, just I think it was just lovely um, and yeah, and I also wanted to say in advance that the online gathering of Young Theosophists of November will be in the 28th of November. So please come with us. It will be around the theme of the three truths outlined in the Mabel Collins book, The Idol of the White Lotus. So yeah, we are going to advertise it later again, but just to, I thought we should comment. Anyway, so I just thought a few comments about what I'm going to say. Please keep in mind that's just initial suggestion and draft. It's really, people should feel really comfortable to go in a completely different direction if they want. They don't want to kind of, make pressure and what the thing should be. Uh, and also, please keep in mind that I suppose at least now there's an atmosphere of cooperation and friendship, and talking about election and power and this kind of thing may sound weird, but I hope that if the federation is to endure, it may face moments in the future in which there are some kind of political strife. So I suppose we have to make a constitution that allows for and motivates and reinforce a nice process, democratic and fair and stuff. And in my opinion, this meeting is an opportunity to everyone to express their views and to create work groups who will develop the ideas to be shared in a future meeting. So I don't think any decision has to be done, any permanent decision today. I think it's more about listening to what people have to say, presenting the ideas, feel where the thing is going, and maybe creating work groups to develop the idea and present it in a future one. So I thought about just reading the beginning of mine and then explaining the rest quickly. One of the things was the name. It's just a personal decision. I think I like more the World Federation of Young Theosophists. We also saw that the other name was International Theosophical Youth Center and the World Theosophical Youth Federation. But then, we can just decide later. That's just my opinion. And I think the objectives is one of the key points to make very clear what are the objectives or objects of the federation. I wrote this ones. There are significant differences to previous ones, so I think that's a key point. I wrote, first, to strengthen the sense of global community, collaboration, and friendship amongst young theosophists. This to me is kind of the main point, is to keep this feeling of a global community. But then obviously in previous versions there was a different idea. The second, to prepare young theosophists to act as workers for the theosophical movement, as all kinds of things like lecturers, writers, treasurers, whatever's, just prepare us to carry on the work of the Theosophical Society in the future. And thirdly, to support its mother institution, the Theosophical Society, based in Adyar, in the accomplishment of its mission and objects. If people read the historical files that Catalina and Shikha found, you will say that there were, in some moments in the past, this kind of conflict about whether the youth federation was in the TS or something too separated. And I think it would be good to reinforce that it's part of the mother institution and it wants to reinforce its goals and objectives. And here I also wrote these instruments that are not something defined, but it's kind of a suggestion for future, executive committees. So here it's written that's only to illustrate the kind of tools that could be expected or could be used. Um, so firstly, an email group with moderated messages for formal communication. And that's something very important. In previous federations, there was a very, it was very central, the person, the meetings that people would do in Adyar to take decisions, whereas the one that I'm proposing, and we can discuss that, is that things would work more based on email and then in proper gatherings in person. So an email group with moderated messages for formal communication, informal communication channels, such as we already have the WhatsApp group, an online repository for documents, channels to promote theosophical activities, such as online video channels, like YouTube channel, and also presence pages in social media, a newsletter with news and articles, especially written by young theosophists, regular events, both online and offline, actions aiming at finding and integrating new young members. And that's the key point to me, because in previous constitutions, this idea of spreading theosophy to the youth of the world was a key point. And in this one that I wrote, it's less of the point. This one is more concerned about promoting the theosophical youth who is already around, and this point on finding and reaching new youth is kind of secondary. That's something to think about. And lastly, council meetings for strategic planning, liberation and special cases, and annual report of the executive committee. So these are just kind of suggestions of tools and possibilities. And it's not something predefined and strict. So I made this graphic just to illustrate the kind of election process that I suggested. I think it would be more practical than reading the whole thing. The idea to organize the thing would be that we have basically three bodies of people. And the first one is the voting members. So basically the voting members is anybody who is a member of the Theosophical Society, ADR, and subscribes to be a voting member in the federation. They would be accepted regardless of age. And then, so let's say that each one of these red points is a voting member, someone who applied. But then the idea of having a council is that, it will be a governing council. That's the main, source of power in the organization. And I think the federation has the idea of being worldly and having participation of every country and so on. So the proposal that I'm doing in this document is that each country section would basically see who are the voting members from that area. And then these people would select one or two council members from there. So let's say in Brazil, it's a section. So I made an initial suggestion that sections would have two council members, and then regional associations and independent lodges would have one. So let's say in Brazil, if we have 5 people voting members, there would be 2 council members that they would elect. And let's say in India, if they have loads more of voting members, doesn't matter, because they are also one section though. So the 2 council members as well, and then each regional association would have 1, and so on. So the idea of this configuration is to have representation from a great number of countries. And then this council would vote to one director, and this director would basically select a group of 5 people to support his or her work. That would be the executive committee. And then there is a suggestion of who the executive committee would be, the secretary, the treasurer, and so on. But then it's also open to the director to kind of change according to the needs, even though the secretary is important because it works as a vice director. So yeah, and the other thing is that there is no age limit, but it's recommended that people who are considered to be young are elected, especially for the council and for the executive committee. They only have to be, but officially they only have to be members of the TS. So I just summarized the key points of this proposal because these are the key points that probably need more discussion today. And I took a decision here in the proposal, but then we can go in a completely different direction. And I believe these are some of the key points. The first thing, no age limit, but recommendation to prioritize younger members or people who are seen or perceived as young in their contexts, especially for council members and executive committee. So if people, the voting members, want to be people from older ages, that would be fine. They just help to elect a council member of that country. Second, creates a council that prioritizes diversity of countries rather than absolute numbers of number of members. So in this model here, if a country, like India, has lots of people, they would only have 2 council members, just any other section, because the idea of this model is basically to have a great number of countries represented rather than prioritizing number of members of each one. That's a system that I described of indirect voting. So there's a council that chooses the director, and then the executive committee, rather than direct vote, in which everyone would have a vote for the director and executive committee. That's indirect. That's also a decision. This model also gives plenty of power to the council that can remove the executive committee at will and have final word in any decision, with the exception perhaps of the international president that could interfere, I suppose. The director has plenty of power on the executive committee because he or she can change it at will. And the council leader, that's also something that I proposed. The council would have a council leader that should be voted to be the link between the council and the executive committee. So let's say there are 6 people in the executive committee, and they would work with the council leader with them. So they could work as a bridge to support communication between the council and the executive committee and make this kind of connection. And I also suggested 2 years for a mandate for everything. So the director and the executive committee and the council members, with re-election allowed, but not recommended for more than 2 mandates. So if there's 2 mandates, if a person waits for 2 years and then they want to run again, that would be okay. But a 3rd time would be only really in cases where there's nobody or some kind of crisis. At least it should be avoided. And besides the director, the executive committee is composed by a team of 5 of other people he or she chooses, with roles not predefined. So that's also a characteristic. And elections and official meetings are expected to occur online. That's also a key point. And if it is asynchronous, or so if it's not so synchronous is when everybody's online at the same time, like now we're all online at the same time. It's asynchronous. So if it's asynchronous, the email would be the official communication to take decisions. But then if it's synchronous, then it could be Google Meet or Zoom, whatever. It doesn't have to be defined. But yeah, I think the email would be a good one. And finally, keeps the president of the TS as a patron of the organization. So yeah, I think that's basically all. I do have the whole text here, but I don't think it makes sense to read it. So let me just So yeah, that's kind of an initial idea. I think it throws at you a lot of key points that should be decided, not decided today, but kind of make the ideas more mature and discussed. So yeah, I don't know whether anybody wants to add anything. But if not, oh, Erica wants to say something.
Or maybe we have a couple of comments, but maybe after Patricia presents her proposal.
Okay, Erica would like to say something.
No, sorry, please go on, Patricia. Present your proposal.
Oh,
yes, well, Rafael, I think that we as a group of young Italian theosophists, we basically are very agree with your draft. And I think that, I mean, we just wrote some ideas shared in our meeting of last week, but reading your proposals, I think that we are very agree with you. So if you want, I can share my, yes, wait. Okay. Are you seeing my desktop? No?
yes, we are seeing.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So I will read just some ideas, for example, about the aims of the WTYF. We just think, we was thinking to add two aims, basically two aims. So to spread the first one, to spread the theosophical message among the new generations, while rejecting proselytism, of course, and to create a youth leadership that can interface more easily with the national general secretary and ADR. But I think that you already said something like that, and more in a more completely and organized way. So I think it is very similar with your draft. And then about the elections, again, we are basically agree with your proposals. We just was thinking about a mandate of 1 year instead of 2 or 3 years, but it is not so important, 1 or 2 years. We just think that we want to avoid the re-election of the same people for several consecutive years. So this is just our thoughts, but I mean, 1 or 2 years, it will be the same. And then we was trying to think about some activities, both in a national and international level. Basically, these activities was thought at our national level, but of course it would be open to the international level too. So with regard to activities, more specific proposals have emerged and are set out below. So first one, creation of a unifying project operating in coordination with the TOS, sorry, TOS, both at national and international level. And then promote exchanges, meeting and interaction, both nationally and internationally among the young members of the TS. Trips and collective experiences aimed at enhancing the significant places of the TS, for example, something like ADR, Northern, Paraiso Terra, and so on, including meetings and visits, not necessarily in a formal way among young theosophists. This point emerged because we was thinking that, okay, in this unfortunate period, we have a lot of meeting online, a lot of contacts, but we are feeling the need to be in contact, in presence. So this is because this is why we thought about it. And then a creation of a collection of publications by young theosophists in the style of what happened with the magazine Unité in the past years. I don't know if you know this kind of magazine called Unité. Have you ever heard something about this kind of magazine? No. No. Okay. It was just a magazine wrote by young people for young people in the 70s, I think, something like that. And this kind of magazine was something like an official magazine of the young theosophists at the international level. Of course, we are not thinking about, I mean, a paper magazine, but of course, something like an online magazine. And then the next point, promoting events open to the public with general age indication in order to give priority to the young people, in which young members of TS could tell each other their experiences. And then the last one, to propose interviews with young Italian theosophists, for example, in the style of the Theosophy Forward. And these interviews could be published on Facebook, on YouTube page, or something like that, and or be in written form and published on the national, international TS magazines, just to enhance the young activities, even with a sort of magazine, or sort of publications. And then I don't know if Tobia want to share his thought with us. Tobia, are you with us? Okay.
Not particularly have to sharing, but also you have
Okay.
Tobia, you are muted.
Sorry. I say it again. I think something interesting in the old papers that Shikar sharing in Drive. I would read something about the experience of the youth center. Someone says the most important danger is that if we separate the young people too much, they will tend to remain always young theosophists and not be properly assimilated into the running and eventual decision making in the society, which is essential. So basically, the thing is to create a group and an organization who will be that will be a part of the TS and not something else.
Okay.
Are you done? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watch your expressions. sorry.
Okay. So, Patrizia, do you want to add anything else?
No.
Okay, I just want to emphasize that both, the Italians, the ideas of the Italians and my own first draft, and also the historical documents that were found by Catalina Schikar and Erika, they are all in an online folder that people can access if they want all these documents. There are other historical documents there as well. So should we then have this more open moment? Everybody can express what they think about the whole thing. I think Erica was the first one who raised her hand.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Congratulations for such a wonderful presentation, well, from both Rafael and Patricia and Catalina and Shiker. I have a comment to make, Rafael, on your key one. If you can show it for us, please, so everyone will know what we're talking about.
Sorry, Erica, which one?
The key one. The key one.
Okay, I think, is it that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
You say you suggested no age limit, but recommendation to prioritize younger members, especially for council members and executive committee. I think this is very important, but I think there should be, when you say recommendation to prioritize younger members, perhaps it would be important to add an age suggestion there, like up to 35 years old, for example. So the young member would be somehow more well defined. What do you think? And then my second suggestion is that it's a question, it's not suggestion. When you say that you suggest 2 council members from each country, perhaps this would become a very large council. It's just a question for brainstorming afterwards. You guys brainstorm about it. Also, perhaps something that you have to take in consideration. There are some sections or some theosophical, let's say, areas with the theosophical organization that they do not have young members at all. So, and it would be interesting that these places would be represented. So perhaps you should add something the lines, in the absence of young member, is it accept a member or an older member could join the council, something like that, but it's implicit in key one. So that's just basically my comment. And to close, very important, after you guys come up with a draft, final one, send it to Tim Boyd, to the international president, to ask his suggestion and if he's willing to approve, because this we will need to go also perhaps to the International Council of the Theosophical Society. So probably, most probably, there is many steps to go through before finalizing the entire process. Thank you again.
Okay, I think Vimao also raised her hand. Thank you, Erica. Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, what I'm thinking is I think it's important to fix an age limit, because without an age limit, it seems like another small theosophical society is being started here. So if we had, in the beginning, I remember Catalina mentioning 40 years. Now that seems like a good idea. So how to start, how to go about, one idea would be that people who are older can hang around in these sessions, but they won't be presenting things, or they won't be actively participating, but they can always hang around, watch what's going on, or like be part of conversations, but not be part of active programs. What could be an idea is that how do you now make the transition from youth to another group? So I would suggest that those who are above 40, once they have finished with this being part of this youth group, can have another group, maybe something like Association of Progressive Theosophists, for example. So APT, something like that. So those who are above 40, who have spent some number of years with this group, with the youth group, can move on to another group, and then they can decide whether they want to take an active role in the main Theosophical Society society itself, and become an active participant of those programs. So I personally think that we should stick to an age limit, because that will make this whole thing logical. And why would you want older people to come in here is because older people might also get inspired by you. So it's good to have some sort of a freedom of letting older people be witness your programs. Like your invitations are open for all, but your organization is run by these people within this age limit. This is what I wanted to say.
Okay,
That's
yeah, thank you. Igor also asked it to say, but I just wanted to say a few things. I cannot raise my hand here. I don't know, because I think because I'm the host, cannot raise the hand. But I just thought that there's something else that I find relevant, is that the young youth, the local youth groups, and how much the idea of the Global Federation, World Federation, would be to encourage the creation of local youth groups. And in my own personal opinion, and then it's kind of I don't see much emphasis in this idea of creating local youth groups. Maybe it's my own bias, but I have been in the national youth movement for a few years now, and I always have been very active in my local lodge, with everyone. I never had a separated youth group in a local sphere. So my idea is that we really try to create this global community. We feel that we're connected. We feel that we are in touch with people from all around the world, and we support each other and prepare us to work in the future and stuff. But we also work in the present for the TS as a whole. And so, that's my idea. And something else that I wanted to comment on just about what Erica said is that, well, in this proposal that I made, basically any person could apply to be a voting member. These are the body of people who choose who the counselor will be. So I think people of all ages, if they want to come and be participant of the process and help electing who is going to represent their country in the council, I think it should be very welcome. But then to the person who would be the council, then I think we should have this idea of be at least recommended that they are considered young. Well, let's say Jamal prefers to be more restrict about age. I would go with, like Erica said, but yeah, I think that's what I want to say. Igor, do you want to speak? Oh no, just one detail more. Something that I wrote in the draft that it was not explicit here is that people from one section could basically elect a council member to represent them from any place. So basically, if there is a section or a regional association that there's no young person there, all these older person come and be voting members, and they could also elect someone from another section to represent them in the council. So if there is a young member from a different section and they feel that that person could represent that country, they could select someone from a different section. And we know that today it's so common to have people from one particular section who lives in a different one and all sorts of different formations. So it would be very flexible in that sense. Anyway, that's just, Igor, could you come and...
Yes, hi everyone. I just want to offer, I have I had opportunity to have a few experiences in writing statutes in legal. I'm a lawyer, right? And I would like to have I don't know, suggest some things in another opportunity. I want to read the document and point it out some written suggestion. May I do this? May I have a permission to make some comments and send to someone, then spread to open up a discussion? I just want to contribute with my experience in life, not only as a lawyer, but as I'm being part of a few movements in my youth, which requires a legal constitution to be registered. So I have some, I can say that I have a little experience in this. I just want to offer my comments and my suggestions when it's convenient. I just want to offer my help. And remember that, for example, I talked with Rafael before. When Blavatsky, we need to think as a theosophist, right? And as a theosophist, we are philosophers, esoteric philosophers, right? What is youth? Because when Blavatsky accepted her mission, she was 20 years old. She received her mission in Hyde Park, London, at 20 years old. When William Judge founded the Theosophical Society, he was 23 years old, if I'm not wrong. Olcott was maybe in the early 40s, in 74, when he met Blavatsky in Vermont, US. And then we never ever forget that the Theosophical Society was made by young people. Damodar Mavalankar, he was almost a child when he became an accepted Chela. So we have always to have, we have to have this idea in mind when we start to discuss how to polish, how to perfect the constitution for the young theosophists. And then I would like to have the chance to point out some things which I think is a strong point, a weak point. So we can, I don't know if you're going to decide everything today or we're going to have a wide range of time and opportunity to discuss more, but it was just a suggestion. If you allow me this, I would like to write something, send to someone, you tell me for who I have to send it, right? Namaste.
Thank you, Igor. Yeah, I think it would be good. I suppose you could send to anybody who is active in the movement. I think to be welcome. Yeah, and we're not going to decide anything today. It's just really kind of feel the atmosphere and perhaps creating work groups to develop the ideas. So thank you, Christopher. Would you want to add?
I just wanted to comment on what was previously raised by Tobiah and Dima. So I think I would agree that the Theosophical Youth Group should not replace the Theosophical Society in general. I think that's also one of the points raised by Rafael. So for example, I belong to the Pranava Lodge and I am the president of the Pranava Lodge. So we have a different activity for that particular lodge. We have study groups, we have meditation sessions, and we have service activities. But I also belong to the youth group as a consultant for that group, and that group has another set of activities, and these are geared more towards the things that are needed by the youth. So I think that perhaps there should be a synchronous activity between the main parent TS. So the Theosophical Society has its own activities, and then the youth group has its own activities. They don't replace each other. They work hand in hand with each other, but this one addresses a specific need, and then the other one addresses the need of the general society. So I just wanted to point that out, that perhaps that's also one way of looking at it, that the federation does not really replace what we have in the lodges, because the lodges would always be the unit, the central unit of the Theosophical Society. So perhaps we should also look into it that way. And if we look at it that way also, we don't need that much of a transition between when you turn, for example, above 35 years old, because you're still part of a lodge and you can still be active in the youth group, you can still help them. It's not really, it won't be divisive if it's taken that way. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, while we wait whether there are other people who would like to say, I just wanted to add that I think that those are some key points that were raised to think. I would go with Christopher. I don't see that much a need for this idea of transition, perhaps because I see the activities in the federation and the people who are in the federation very much integrated with the TS as a whole. So I don't know, there's the idea of transition also almost sound like the person is only in the federation, is not doing other things for the TS. But I don't know, I think that this should not be the case if it's not ideal. But then just to remind people that we have this idea of, now Erica suggested that there is an age recommendation, even if it is flexible, that could be 35. And then Vima also suggested that we have a more rigid age limit that could be up to 40. So these are some of the ideas. And I think Erica also raised a very important thing about the number of people in the council. So if we do have 2 people for each section, and then 1 person for each independent lodge or regional association, lots of lodges and sections and don't have youth, but if every section and regional association do elect a council member, it would be a very big council. So yeah, I don't know whether the best idea would be just to keep 1 person per section, and whatever it's a section or a regional association, or we just keep in mind that I would think it would be unlikely that every section and regional association would actually participate. But then who knows? I don't know. I just thought that if it's our section, there's lots of members, and then 1 person only to represent all of them. I don't know. It sounds like should be better, but yeah, I don't know. So there are lots of key points. If anybody wants to say anything about any of
May
this,
I?
yes, please.
Yeah, so what we were thinking actually was like a suggestion that may also lead to this thing about us being separated or no, maybe something that can avoid any misinterpretation or confusion can be maybe when you were talking in your proposal about the objectives of the federation. We should maybe add to support its mother institution in the accomplishment of its 3 objectives and missions. So maybe we can include the objectives and the mission of the Theosophical Society in our own objectives. So that will, because actually, yes, I agree with Tobia, Christopher, you, in the sense that the Youth Theosophical Federation actually is a part of the Theosophical Society that is its aim is precisely to enhance the Theosophical Society and to prepare young people to act more effectively and more actively in Theosophical Society in general. So as you were saying, no, it's not that I am a member of the Youth Theosophical Federation, and no, as I am a member of the Theosophical Federation, I can work even better and more in the Theosophical Society. So maybe including the 3 objectives and the mission of the Theosophical Society in our objects can be a way to deal with that.
Okay. I think Erica wants to say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I agree, Catalina, with your point, which is very important. I think that the idea that the federation exists to prepare young members to work for the Theosophical Society is not very well. It's not very well structured, because those young members, they are active members of their sections, and they are active in their lodges. So they are getting prepared to work to the TS through their lodges. I like very much what Christopher said, that is the activities of the federation, which will create the differentiation between the works done in the lodge and the work done in the federation, which should be a work for younger people. And that's the reason why they will be joining the federation, because the activities the federation are offering are not activities they are finding in their lodge, traditional lectures and all that program. So this is a very important point, I think, that you should think. And it's very important point also to think that the federation is linked to the Theosophical Society in the sense that the international president, he is the patron of the federation, and the federation exists to strengthen and support the work of the Theosophical Society, not for something else, and to offer through different activities, let's say, something else for the younger people to work with and to get engaged with. Thank you. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you. I think Javier also wanted to say something.
Yeah, I have a question. Do we have any website or some place to people to approach to the federation? I mean, are you thinking how we are going to manage, well, how people is going to know us and all that? I mean, with social networks and all that technical part.
Okay, well, there isn't at the moment, because the federation is not active. But at least in my draft, I did mention this idea of having an email group and also presence in the social media and websites. Yeah, I think that would be very important. But at the moment, we don't have, because it became inactive in 1999. So. Yeah, but there are other things like a youth group, WhatsApp group. Oh, you're already there. Yeah. I also thought about just sharing the screen of the points, because I think if we do have a work group to develop the ideas, I suppose some of these key points are the points in which we would have to know what is the opinion of people about them. So some people already said something about some of the points, but there are other points that are very important, such as indirect election. And so I just thought that it could be well to have them here, because they're just key points, I think. I don't know whether people want to add any other key points, but yeah. We have a message from Giles. Do you want to speak in the microphone, Giles, or do you want us to read the message? Okay, so he asked me to read, so I think I can just read it. Giles said, I have my reservations about letting any TS member to vote in the elections of a youth group. I was thinking that if there was no young people in a particular section, then all the TS members can gather to vote to elect a representative for the youth group. But if there is already a youth group and there are several young people, my opinion is that they should be independent from regular TS members to vote for their own hierarchy. The reason I believe the group should have a little bit of independence is that it can become political. For example, what if a group of young theosophists want a particular leader from their group, and another person wants to run but does not have the support from the young members? Then that person, instead of convincing the members via the debates and democratic process, goes out and brings older members to equalize the vote and maybe win the election. Then the youth group will have a representative they did not want. Am I thinking too much? Please it. Yeah, that's so basically the idea that even in the voting members, it would be better to have more only younger members. I don't know, lots of possibilities. I think we do try to create a system that's good, but then if people want to kind of make a lot of effort to just, to do, to control the institution, I don't know, then it's very hard to make protection against all possibilities of intervention of ill-intentioned people. But yeah, I just think that, yeah, I don't like the age limit to be rigid. So I always kind of want to keep people around if they feel, but then that's just me. Vimal also wants to say, please.
Yeah. What I want to ask you is, why are we having this whole structure of elections, president, treasurer? What is the purpose of having an electoral kind of system? I'm not able to fathom, because I thought the idea was to spread the word among the youth. Why do we need leaders here? Each person is a leader in his own right in this group. Can someone clarify what is the purpose of having this electoral process?
Okay. I think Christopher also raised his hand. I just wanted to say very briefly, we are organizing the online gathering of young theosophists collectively. So we have a group of people who try to decide things in the collective. And I also try to do things in the collective in a few years now in the Brazilian section. And I can say it's very difficult and challenging sometimes to do everything in the collective, because if you don't have some kind of specific roles for each person, everybody kind of decides on everything. That just makes things more difficult. And then if you have some kind of roles, I think it just makes it clear who are expected to do what. That's just my opinion, and I think it makes more practical to run an organization and do activities. That's my view. But yeah, Christopher, would you like to say?
Well, regarding the question about the politics, to be honest, I did not consider that because in my experience of working with the Theosophical Youth, it's more of actually just a role rather than a position. For example, in our current group, if somebody, like one of our members, enjoys making digital designs, so we just figured, make her the PRO so that she's the one responsible for updating our Facebook page, and then everybody will just vote and then say, yeah, that's a good idea, and that's it. So I guess this was also something new for me, but I see the validity of the point. So I suggest that if we're going to have a challenge regarding the politics of having a youth group, I suggest that perhaps we should also designate like an advisor to a particular youth group. For example, I am no longer a part of the youth group because I am way past because I'm past 35 years old. But I am in a consultative position in our group. So if they have questions, if they have conflicts, they can come to me and I can assist. So I'm thinking that perhaps to minimize the political problems, maybe the Parent Theosophical Society of that section, or perhaps the International Theosophical Society, can also like designate somebody to act as an advisor to the youth group. I mean, the youth group will still be independent, but everybody needs help, right? Everybody needs help, everybody needs advice. So I'm thinking that if the political side of this will be a challenge, one of the things I can think of is to designate somebody as their advisor, so that that advisor can like set the culture of that youth group, as well as make sure that the politics doesn't go out of hand. So that's just my suggestion.
Okay, so Miriam also said that she agrees with what Christopher said, and Erica also said that she agrees with something that I said a few minutes ago. I'm not sure what now. Kyle said, I'm also for passive membership for all TS members, but active membership only for members below the age limit. And then Jocelyn also would like to say something.
Yeah, but I think Catalina wanted to speak before me.
No, Jocelyn, you go ahead. I'm just raising like this because cannot raise my hand because I'm co-host. So it's only two. No, you go ahead because you were before.
Okay, thank you. I don't know how I feel about the voting system. I don't know, it might be just because, you know, everything that's going on in the United States, and it kind of seemed like that process again. So I think that maybe one idea could be maybe like everybody can vote, and right, like we have like a space where we propose things and then everybody can vote anonymously. And I can't pronounce that word. But and you know, like I'm sure that there are programs that, you know, they can do that, and then all of the people who are voting are part of the TS and are from everywhere. And then also, yeah, I think having the council is important, but also everybody voting on all the things, right? Like maybe 3 people and 2 people are voting yes on something and 2 people are voting no on something. But if we put that collectively, that adds up, right? Like it's it kind of gives us a different proportion of things, and it doesn't give more power or less power to anyone. But I don't know what you guys think.
So are you suggesting that we have no council, like everybody's the council, sort of?
Yeah, kind of like that. But we also have a council because I think that is very important too. But when it comes to elections or to any proposals or any things that need to be changed or do, we have everybody has the opportunity, if they do want to be involved, to vote, and the council is there to represent them. But basically, all of us or everybody to vote, and that kind of also gives us a more united view, I guess, or yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one of the key points. Whether if we do have an election, whether it's indirect, so people elect the councillors and the councillors elect someone, or we have direct, so everybody elects directly the director in the executive committee. Well, my suggestion is that we, indirect, like we do have like the Brazilian section, but then, internationally, it's direct voting, so people can vote directly for the international president. It's just a lot more effort to organize that, but yeah, that's another possibility. So Patricia also said that she agrees with Caio, and I think Catalina.
Yes. Regarding to what Bimal said about the hierarchies, and also a little bit in consonance with what Jocelyn was saying. In Colombia, we had a very nice experience. We had like a moment of administrative lag or something like that. So we created a board of members. So that board of members, instead of having like a president, like that those hierarchy, the board of members was elected directly by all the members of the TS, and it was like a very nice way of a team group, because no one was the president, or no, the more or less or whatever power conflict can arise. But actually it was a very nice experience. So my suggestion is that maybe we can try with having a board of members that are like in charge of the administrative issues, because actually also maybe answering to what Bimal was asking, it's important to have like a body of people who takes charge of the administrative issues. All those things is important to have as a group, but in the form of board members can be a way, and directly they can be elected by the voting members. So that is a proposal. I mean, instead of the figure of the president and executive committee and all that, board of members. Maybe it's like a democratic proposal. I don't know how to name it, but, and also we agree with what Christopher was saying about the age and the passive members, and that's basically what I wanted to share.
Okay, so Taps also
Age.
agrees with Catalina, and Ananda also is raising her head. So I think, so do you mean it will be only the voting members and the board? It will be only two bodies.
The board should be elected by the voting members that are below the age limit that we had like proposed. So that will be, and okay, it should be decided how many people will be in the board and what will be the characteristics, but that can be an option, like a middle point of option, I guess.
And just to clarify, so it would be, so the board people in the board have no specific roles then? I mean, everybody who is in the board is in the board.
Actually, it's to be decided what are the roles of the people of the boards.
But they have specific roles.
They have administrative role, coordination roles, and but of course that we have to work upon that more, like specifically in case we decide to.
Yeah, they will be known as by their duty, not the post or the president or secretary or something. So there is no sense of, the word brings a lot of baggage with it. So when it's this board member has this duty, that can be decided among the board members or the voting members. So every board member has their duty to do, that's all. No one is higher or lower than the other.
It's like a collaborative work among all the members of the board.
I agree with that. Actually, I think for our section, the current way, I'm not sure this might be the same way for all the TS sections, but usually what happens is that the voting members vote for the board, and then the board will just decide which task goes to which specific person. That way, it won't be a question of politics, but it's just a question of role and what your responsibilities are as a board member. Did I get was that accurate, Catalina and Shikar?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, if you go, we just want to upgrade here in the chat. So Patricia agrees with Caio, and Weng Lin also said, I'm also for passive membership for OTS members, active membership for members below the age limit, or priority given to the younger person. Okay, so Jocelyn agrees with Catalina and Taps as well. Mariana said she likes Catalina's ideas. It also adds a sense of more of a global experience, and Giles as well. And Brandon adds that having a board of members seems more democratic, and Babi agrees with Catalina. Eric agrees and think it's more simple and practical. And Weng Lin agrees with the idea of the board as well. And Giles thinks that it takes out the political side of the group. Seth mentioned that sounds like the same thing with a different name. Javier thinks it's very necessary to have that administration and organization hierarchy. So Javier and Seth sounds like they prefer to have the executive committee more defined. Tobias said, I like that too. It's a good to experiment different ways. And Javier said, a federation without a good administration and leadership ends as chaos. So so we had Ananda raise her hand, and then we had someone else later. I don't know whether people changed their minds.
I changed my mind because I was raising my hand only to agree. But anyway, I agree with what Caio wrote about the passive and active members and this kind of thing. So I think that for voting, I'm always against age limits, but I guess that maybe for voting and to give this idea of what is the purpose of the organization and everything, I think that it would be nice to have an age limit. And also, I was wanted to agree with what Jocelyn said about this hierarchy thing. That no, she said she talked about the indirect voting, and I also think that we should think about a way of engaging everyone, and I think that is a sense of building this thing together. So even if there are different stages of voting, I mean, it would be nice to think about a structure where what everybody thinks and what everyone is willing to share is valued. So I don't know, I was just thinking that it's nice what we are building in our WhatsApp groups and this kind of thing. So it would be a shame if we lost it. So just to think about a way that we can maintain it. I know I'm not the one who shares a lot of things there, but I'm always reading. So I think it's nice to keep that in mind, because this way we can always have I don't know, at least a place where we can have these text and different point of views, and not just the vote and the indirect vote. And I don't know, keep it the way. Okay, I'm talking too much. Anyway, I hope I was it was able to understand me. And another thing I was thinking about is this board idea that Catalina shared. I think it's great because uh, that's another way to maintain what we have now. I know Rafael is doing a lot, but anyway, we at least we have a feeling that there's a board and it's shared, and maybe we can think about some way that in this board we will share responsibilities. For me, it's the most important is to share the responsibilities and to give a sense that someone is responsible for that, but you're not doing this alone. Another one is responsible for that, but you're not doing this alone. And maybe this will be a way that it won't end in chaos, and it won't end in someone who is always willing to do just taking it and doing it all alone. So we just share the responsibilities. And yeah, I don't know if it was understandable. I hope so.
Okay, so I think Vimao also raised her hand.
Yeah, so I just want to convince a few people who are on the other side of this debate, which is who want the structure, who want the elections, who want all that. So let me just try and see if I can convince you to come and jump to the board side of this whole thing. What I'm trying to say is, see, if we what is the problem of the Theosophical Society today? The main problem is we have become very cult-like. We are too inward-facing. We have to have outreach programs. We have to reach out to people who are non-theosophists. Now, that has to be what, I mean, that has been mentioned in your list of aims. And I think that if we have to focus outside, if we have a complex voting mechanism, general council, this, that, and all that, we're going to be lost in this hierarchy, in establishing all this. All our time will go in all this. Where will be the time to develop creative ideas? I mean, for me, it's so difficult to make even one person a theosophist. I don't know how we're going to do this. And, that is going to be our biggest challenge, is to create new theosophists among the younger generation. So there is so many, those problems are so big that we have to keep things amongst us simple. That's what, let me see. I don't know whether that convinced all of you. Anyway, that's it. Bye-bye.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So the next person is Justin.
Hello. I do kind of agree with Vimal on that last point that she's trying to make. One of the things I really like that you said, Raphael, that the objective that we just kind of want to create a community with each other and be friends and share in that brotherhood. I think that's the main thing that we're here to do. So we don't want to get too caught up in politics. I wanted to make a comment about the age. At least here in the United States, our average age of membership is probably around 60. So young to me is still 45 would be young. And there's a lot of us in this group right now that I think are above 35 already. So I think we should at least have an age limit, but maybe 45, 40 is a better number than 35. And then also with the voting, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with that because there might be someone that is not as confident or is outwardly assertive. So they may not feel comfortable to try and even run for any position. So that might leave people out if we're voting. And I'm not a Freemason, but I think I heard at some point in my life that when they run their lodge, it's kind of like the solar system or the bodies of the way they move. So they kind of rotate. No one's really voting. Everyone kind of fulfills each position depending on how it's moving. So maybe all of those who want to fulfill particular duties can be in a group, and then from the beginning, it can be done at random, but then eventually the positions that everyone holds just rotate. So if you want to be involved in that, then it just rotates. So the highest will be the lowest, and the lowest will eventually be the highest at some point. I think maybe that would be a good way to get around the voting. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And then Jocelyn also wants to speak.
Yeah, I think that, and maybe it doesn't really necessarily has to be 10 people who are the board, right? Like right now we're 27, we were 33, and it can be 33, 100 people in the board, whoever wants to participate. But in having those discussions, whether we agree or disagree with something, I think it's very useful. It involves a lot of people, and it also it gives an opportunity for older members, like age limits. I think they're not necessary. And I also feel like inviting more people, right? Like older members that want to come, why not? I think it's very important for everybody to keep updated, right? To the older generations to keep up with the younger generations and so on. So I think if we can if we're open to that, I think that will be very, it'll be a very nice and inspiring for everyone. And yeah, also the roles can be rotating, as Justin said. I mean, there's like a lot of ideas that we can do, and I really like that the boards can be, it doesn't necessarily has to have a limit. And we don't necessarily have to be too involved in politics, and that's how our governments are run. And I don't necessarily think we're doing really great with them. So.
Okay, so Javier also, thank you. And Javier also wanted to say something. He had asked you to propose something.
Yeah, I'm agree with Vimal about the aim and how we're going to reach people, young people. And I was thinking that the new generations are very visual and very, everything comes from like a screen or, you know, so I think it's very important, as for example, and Kelly does with Living Theosophy, is to approach those young people with some kind of from the visual part, you know. So I think it's very important to have like a very how do you say that? Like a very strong corporative identity, you know, like for to do like logos for each country, but all with the same identity to people to know us better. You know, so I work as a graphic designer and product designer, and I can help with that if you need it in any occasion.
Okay, thank you. I also subscribed to Speak. I would disagree with obviously my initial proposal is different. I just wanted to share why. I think I do think an executive committee would be good. I do. Well, I think Seth maybe said something in the same lines. I'm not sure, but in my experience in the youth movement in Brazil, what happened was it was very, like what you were saying, very open, very collective and things. And I always found very difficult to work that way. And then at some point, there was the general secretary of the Brazilian section, Sergio. And then he needed to choose one person to be the youth representative of the national board, right? And then he chose me. And then I was at the same time part of the organizing committee that was very collective, organizing the gatherings. But at the same time, I was part of the national board as the youth representative. And from when I took this position, then I kind of realized that I had to embrace the responsibility and took action and took initiative and really understand that I was expected to do that and not only be part of a bigger group in which the responsibilities are all very kind of vague and everybody is responsible for, but at the same time sometimes nobody actually takes initiative because it's kind of diluted. So I would obviously we will do whatever the collective thinks it's better, but I just wanted to argue for a structure that it makes very clear, that has very clear positions and responsibilities. And I think this kind of opens space for leaders, not only lead like the big leader, but small leaderships to actually appear, and it makes a lot more practical. Because I have to say, for 5 years working in collective committees to organize things, if you have no hierarchy, it's just a lot more challenging, at least in my opinion. So that's just my. And then I know that some other people want to say as well. I just wanted to remind that it's 5-1. So I would suggest that we also work towards creating small work groups that could develop this idea. Maybe we could have small work groups that would develop 2 different ideas, one with the executive committee and one with a general board. I don't know whether I'm kind of just me and maybe Steph wanting the executive committee, but perhaps we could have this kind of 2 proposals being developed and then have a future meeting to come again with more mature ideas, more concrete proposals, and then we kind of decide what we want before sending to DR and stuff. So yeah, but there are other messages here. Brandon also said he fully agrees with Vimal of being outward turned. Youth outreach is of top priority, and we are too small to require a complex hierarchy. However, a basic structure to ensure an organized team is important as start. And then Brandon says I guess he is between both sides, if there are any sides. Well, I'm fine with I think there are sides, and that's fine. I think we should be fine disagreeing if we disagree, and then so Wayne Ling also said, thank you, Vimal, for talking about going outreaching. And Brandon agreeing with Justin, role focused rather than position or voting focused. Oh my gosh, lots of messages here. Should I read them all? Okay, Zhao said, I agree with taking the political out of the group. If new people only see elections, they will either leave because politics is not what they were looking for, or they will stay and be political animals. Political processes attract people with ambitions for titles and ideas of power, when the TS is the opposite of that. Vimal said, 1, the leadership must be from the youth. 2, age limit 45 years old. 3, board of 25 members on volunteer basis that changes every 6 months. Board of 25 members on volunteer basis that changes every 6 months. So the board will have to show some work in a short time, and that will make board members more serious. Erica said, please send the minutes to the international president, the link to the video, and keep him informed. And then Brandon said, it's a happy problem to have so many active youths that you need hierarchy. I agree with that. Christopher, please.
I was just thinking about what you mentioned. So yes, I think I would agree with you that having a specific structure would make work more effective, and that's I think why many organizations have executive committees. However, I think one way we can have an executive committee and not have politics involved is the concept that we try to put a person in charge over a specific project. So, for example, if we're going to have an activity, we have this one person as the person in charge, and the success and failure of that project would depend on that person's ability to coordinate with the other members of the team. But it's not necessarily a position of power, it's not necessarily a position that would give him a certain prestige. So maybe that's also one way that we can find a balance. If we can delegate tasks and make that person in charge of a particular task without necessarily imposing too much on that person, at the same time not also giving that person like a specific position, that might be a balance, so that we can take out politics, but at the same time we can make it more effective or more efficient because it also has a specific structure.
Okay, and then also thank you. And Ananda also said maybe we could set some working groups, and I agree. I think it would be better. Just a few words about that. In my opinion, small work groups would be better. So please think twice before you join a work group. People are sometimes very excited and they want to join all the work groups, and sometimes it's better to have a small group of people who are actually willing to take the effort to discuss and organize things. And in my opinion,
can I just develop on this idea? I was just thinking that because you said we could separate in two groups with these two ideas, but maybe we could, I don't know, set some 4 groups or more than 4 with few people, and then discuss. And we don't really have to agree when setting the groups, but then we discuss inside our groups, and then we come up with a proposal for next meeting, and then we share proposals, and then we see where they meet, where they go from to different sides. And yeah, and another thing, I was just thinking that we're being unfair with politics, because this is also politics. It will also be a political decision to deliberate and to do things collective. This is also political. So we're just going a different way and seeing democracy in a different way. So anyway, just a point.
Anyway, Ananda is a doctoral researcher about politics, so I think we can understand. Okay, so if I understood well what Ananda said, is it the idea that we can have more than like several work groups? Should we do something like, I would like to subscribe to the work group who is going towards an executive committee and all this thing. Oh, basically my proposal is already there. So one work group I'm kind of subscribing in going in this direction. And then perhaps we could have more working groups that are going to present concrete plans for different models. So does it sound fine to everyone? So we have 2 or 3 working groups, each one will present a different proposal in the next meeting, and then we can all decide together and then make some kind of voting in the next meeting or something like that based on the proposals. Does it sound fine?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so is anybody willing to join either my group or or begin a different group going towards a more board oriented?
Rafael, I'll join your group. I don't have to do any work.
Because already, no, I think the idea is that we are going to take everything that was said in this meeting to kind of work on
the initial proposal and try to, you know, just to think whether it can improve. I think that's the idea. Yeah. Yeah, actually, do you want to join my group? Because you are kind of going in the opposite direction, right? So I think it was a joke, right?
That's why we should be part of the same group.
I think we shouldn't separate on ideas, but maybe just do this random selection here, and then we see what we can do talking in small groups. Because if we separate in ideas like what we already think, we won't try to come up with a more integrative idea. I don't know.
We can organize by time zone so we can work. You know, it'll be easy to schedule with each other.
Okay.
So I think that idea is kind of cool. If we just have groups break up, maybe according to time zone or some other way to differentiate, and then just, you know, naturally what each group comes up with can share at the next meeting. And this way we're taking, you know, we have all of us right now, one big mass. We can divide that into smaller groups, and then they can come back together with more refined ideas.
Okay, Erica?
Yes, maybe just a suggestion. I think the idea to separate groups in on topics of interest is important. So you can refine your ideas. So you have the executive committee group, the persons who are pro this idea, and then the persons who are pro the board idea. So each group, perhaps you can do 2 groups, because the main ideas proposed, they are divided in 2. One which is more hierarchic and involves the committee, and the other one which is a little more free and involves the board. The idea of the board was proposed by Catalina and Shiker. So perhaps they could have that group and then add the members to that group, and the members who are pro the executive committee join the executive committee. So you have 2 groups, because focusing on the 2 main points discussed today. Just an idea, suggestion.
Yeah, I would go with Erica, but then
I'll change my mind. I'm with Erica.
We probably want to meet somewhere in the middle, though, right? If we just have 2 extreme plans, it's gonna be pretty divisive.
So do you think we have a different group to try to find a solution integrating both proposals, sort of?
I agree with Seth. Maybe 3 groups then.
Okay. So so I'd like to ask who would like to join one of the groups and which group would like to join, and then maybe we can set a date for the next meeting. So yeah. So volunteers.
We say that each group is a number, and then we just put on the chat what number we want to go. Like hierarchy is number 1, number 2 is middle group, and number 3 is Catalina and Shikar's idea. So maybe.
Okay.
Why don't we only have 2? Because at the end, we're going to have one that meets both things.
I like the idea of having some people trying to develop an integrative kind of third proposal, more ideas. Sorry, Catalina. Shika.
Yeah, I think maybe the third, like the third dimensional idea may come up when the 2 groups present their plans in the next meeting. So maybe out of that discussion, something might come out. But at present, we have these 2 views, so they can be worked upon. And okay, I am in Catalina's group.
I'm in Chica's group.
Okay, well, I like the idea of having a third group. You know, if there are people willing to go in a third way, I think we should allow these people to go in the third way and present a new proposal.
Yeah. If there is any third, yes, sure. No, because I didn't hear there is any third proposal.
I guess Seth said something about that. No, Seth was.
I think Seth and Ananda maybe were around this. No, I don't know.
Okay, yes, yes. If of course sorry, I didn't understand that. So.
Okay, so Javier is in my group, and Catalina and Shikar are in the other one. So do we have any other person who'd like to join one of the groups?
Yes, I'm waiting to join your working group, Rafael.
Okay. Okay, and
I'm just
the other
confused.
thing.
Will that be the third group or no? I didn't get it.
I think if there are people willing to do it, I think that's my opinion.
Yeah,
I think we should have.
Set is
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Do you want to be in the third group, Ananda? Okay, and Seth as well, or no?
Yes,
Yeah,
Seth just wrote in the chat that he wants to join the third group.
Okay, and Justin is in my group as well. And Seth in the third. So Seth, the third is Ananda.
Christopher, I guess, is in with Catalina, I guess.
Oh, excuse me. What is the idea of Seth and Ananda?
Is to develop a proposal. Is to develop an idea that's kind of integrates both projects. It's kind of a third way, a middle point, sort of.
I just have maybe a practical question in terms of logistic. How will we operate the groups, and how will we?
Maybe each group should decide. What's up, my group, please? But I don't know.
Maybe we can make a
or maybe like a drive or something like that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Rafael, Javier, Patricia, and Justin in one group, and then we have Catalina and Shikar and Christopher. Is Christopher in the Catalina group?
Yeah, I guess Christopher and Jocelyn have written.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Jocelyn as well.
And
then in the third group we have Ananda and Seth. Do you have anyone else who'd like to?
And also Brandon. Brandon is going to join the third group. He just wrote in the chat.
We have work groups of 4 or 3 people. I think that's a great. Oh, Miriam as well. Good.
Julian will go Catalina's group, and Miriam, I don't know if she said, and me, Julian. Is Julian.
I think Miriam is in the third with Ananda, Seth, and Brandon. And then Jaos is with Catalina. Okay, Jaos. Okay, great. So we have very nice size of groups. And should I propose the next meeting to be in, I don't know, 2 weeks' time?
2 weeks' time.
The national convention on our section, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to attend. Or if anyone.
What if we do it after? Oh no, but that would be too late. After the next gathering, maybe on the first week of December, but maybe it's too long, too far.
I find a bit far, yeah. Maybe if it's 3 weeks, then it would be in the 14th. No, I know it would be 2 weeks in the 14th.
14 is
3 weeks, it would be in the 21st, but then 21st.
Yeah, 21st is a difficult date. No, I guess Philippines has something. We have also a meeting. 28.
Or first week of December, maybe.
Well, I'm fine with that. I think it's a long time, but if it works better to people.
Because anyway, we are not meeting in December at all, so it would be like a customary meeting.
Is it? Vimal said it will be Diwali in India, but when?
14.
Oh,
14, 15, yeah.
Okay, so good. So so we are agreeing to do the 5th of December. So it's the first Saturday of December at the same time. Is it okay for everybody? And Igor asked who he should send. Maybe you can send to me, Igor, and I can share with the leaders of all groups and stuff, if it's okay.
So I'm going to give you farewell to everyone. Good luck with your work.
Bye, Elena. Thank you. Nice to see you.
So Elena also.
Bye, Elena.
Bye-bye.
Nice day. Elena was there. No, bye, Elena.
Yuna. Where are you? Bye, Elena is not here.
Hi.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Erika.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Should we do some kind of closing moment to all together?
Yes.
Okay, so just to summarize, we have 3 projects. One, we have a work group of Rafael, Javier, Patricia, and Justin, who will develop more the idea of having a federation based on an executive committee with more clear hierarchy. And then we have a second work group with Catalina, Shikhar, Christopher, Jocelyn, and Jaos, who will develop an idea of federation that is based on a board, which is more open and democratic and less hierarchical. And then we have a third group with Ananda, Seth, Brandon, and Miriam, who will work towards some kind of, discuss and find some kind of middle ground and propose a third idea. All these proposals should be made in the 5th of December. That will be the next meeting about this movement. So if we can close our meeting, I'll invite everyone to sit in a comfortable and stable position. Close your eyes and breathe deeply and try to understand how all these ideas that were said vibrates and resonates with you. Which one of the ideas come to your mind as important, as bad, as good? And just while we breathe deeply, we try to understand how all these ideas are being digested by us, and at the same time adopt a posture of looking to all these ideas again, trying to reach a perspective from above, looking at all these perspectives and thinking what are the best to the higher divine plan that guides everything and also the Theosophical Society. So I invite everyone to calm down your body, to keep your mind active, and to have this moment of silence, ponderation of all these ideas, just like if we could digest them. It's very important that even though we will create different proposals for the federation, that we keep in mind that we all are doing this in a spirit of friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood, and that we are all doing that for the benefit of this movement, the bigger movement of the Theosophical movement, and that we can disagree in the spirit of friendship and work together as a collective towards the best solution for the present and the future of the Theosophical Society and the divine plan. With this emotion in our hearts, we can begin to come back to our regular state of mind, slowly moving your bodies. And when you feel comfortable, opening your eyes. Thank you very much, everyone, for this amazing session. I think it was very inspiring. I will end the transmission and then we can declare this meeting closed. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye.